Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of my 1993 Ford Festiva twin charge project video. I'm doing this because I need to I need to keep myself accountable, and I thought that if I made videos it'd help me get motivated to get my project done. Right now I have a lot of the parts accumulated. I have the engine built. I got Manly rods. We'll go over that in a bit. But I got the car, got the engine, got the transmission I'm going to use, got the suspension on the car already. I got the wheels and tires that I'm running. Got the turbo, got the supercharger, got the intercooler. There's a lot of other stuff that I just kind of need to weld and build. So I have a welder here at my house. So I'm not a welder. An electronics technician by trade. So it's kind of like welding, soldering is. But I'm gonna give you guys a little rundown of some of the shit I got, and I made a little list on Google Docs. But let's go over this real quick. So oh no, go back up. It's a 1993 Ford Festiva. I got a dual overhead cam 1.6 engine from a Miata. I'm doing custom intake and exhaust manifolds. The intercooler, the water air intercooler, is welded to the intake, a chopped Miata intake runners. No plenum. The plenum's going to be the intercooler. I wanted to do unequal length headers, make it sound like a Subaru engine, because the Miata engines never really sounded that good. I think everybody agrees. But I got a pretty cool looking exhaust manifold I've already started working on. It's not done, but I got the pretty tough stuff done. I got a supercharger that I've modified. It's from I don't know, we got it on eBay. My buddy bought it for me. Some Nissan SUV. And it's going to go up front where the factory AC compressor would go. The turbo is going to be in the hatch, kind of close to the B pillar in the car, so closer, pretty close behind the driver's seat. It's a modified Ford Focus ST turbo, so it came from a whatever the heck those engines are, 2 liter or 2.4 or whatever they are. So it's going to be, a little bit big for this 1.6 comparatively to what it came from, but that's what the supercharger is going to help with. I wanted to put the inlet with one of those nice aluminum bell mouth filter, whatever you'd call that, and it's going to go on the outside of the car. I'm going to drill out the gas fill cap and stuff, and run the intake of the turbo to the outside of the car, so it'll be pretty close to the driver's door. But that's kind of something I was wanting, was just some really nice turbo induction noises. And the blow off valve is going to kind of recirculate into the filter box, which will be between the turbo and the bell mouth on the outside of the car. So hopefully I get some real good blow off valve sounds out of that that inlet. And the exhaust, I haven't really decided where it's going to go. Somewhere in a fender, or just wherever's convenient. But I didn't really just want to have coming outside or going out the back of the car, because here in my town we have a lot of on-ramps onto the highway that have these big walls next to them on the left. And something that I really wanted was just to do some hard pulls onto the highway and have that exhaust sounds just bouncing off that wall. And I know that's kind of petty, just kind of dumb, but I think it's kind of cool. So that's what I'm doing. The ECU, my buddy and I are working on a GM ECU. We're gonna rewire it. I'm an electronics technician, so wiring projects aren't overwhelming to me. Fuel, I got a nice ethanol station 2 miles from my place, and I can get just about any ethanol blend that I want there. So You know, I think E30 would be nice because if I'm taking a road trip, well, then I could fill up with premium, and it would be kind of a, it'd run it rich, but I wouldn't have to retune the engine. I think it's a good compromise. 5-gallon fuel cell is going to go in the trunk. One thing that this car is, I really want to do with it is do I want to do fuel heating for the engine. You know, if you I found one of these on Amazon. It's a brazed plate heat exchanger. You have engine coolant go in two of the ports, and the fuel would go into two of the ports. And the thing is you would say, well, you don't want to heat your fuel up too much, or it could cause detonation issues or whatever. But the cool thing with one of these heat exchangers is that the slower the fuel goes through it, you know, when you're idling or just cruising around, the more you're going to heat it up, which I ironically is also the time when you would have the least chance to knock is when you're just cruising. So that's something that I really thought would be cool. And you get up a wide open throttle pull, and you know that fuel might only spend a second in that exchanger because it's going to the injectors real quick. And this is about the smallest one I could find. So if I find a smaller one, I'll probably choose that. But I want something real small because I don't want to go heating up my fuel too much. That's, you know, for wide open throttle pulls. Next thing, I also wanted to run heated. I wanted to be able to switch between engine coolant or intercooler cooled fluid to go to the intercooler, because I want to run, you know, ambient intercooler, watered air intercooler temps. Or I thought it'd be fun for, you know, cruising on the highway and doing some MPG experiments to do heated intercooler. So then you could have, you know, 210 degree intake temps, just cruising. But then you'd also have your fuel getting heated up too, and by the time the fuel gets injected into that really warm, you know, that really warm air, it could almost be a total gaseous state going into the engine, and that's what everybody needs for fuel economy. So, you know, it might be something I do and decide it's not even worth it, and I might just take it all off. But it's something that you know, if I'm going to do this project and I want to play around with fuel economy. I mean, it is a Ford Festiva. Another thing I wanted to do was make a custom tubular front bumper, and I found this picture. I mean, this is a Nissan, but I want to do something kind of like this. I'm going to have to cut out the bottom cross member on my Festiva, and everybody makes a nice solid, and they weld it across, and that helps the flexing of the engine bay, and it also gives the front engine mount, a better place to mount to. But then I'm going to do something like this over top of it and take the bumper cover off and take the bumper off. And you know, I wanted to have the engine or the radiator kind of in here, but then kind of do like maybe like a perforated stainless over the top of the radiator to kind of protect it a little bit. Maybe like 60% opening holes or whatever I can find. But then I kind of wanted to do like cover this with the stainless sheet, weld it in so it's not so open. I thought that'd look good. Let me see if I can think of anything else. Another thing I'm going to do on my build is I'm going to build a B-pillar brace to go right behind the driver's passenger seat. And one goal was, you know, to separate the turbo heat and the turbo noise from the driver, but also the fuel, because the fuel is going to mount probably to the brace, but it's going to go, you know, from the floor up to the roof and over and back to the floor. And I wanted to do X braces from the corner to the corner, and I wanted to do like a stainless filler in the X's and like a stainless sheet. and then do like a plexi window at the top, so you could still use the rear view mirror, but then you got that nice brace and, you know, a little roll protection, maybe tie it into the rear struts, tie it into the rear bumper, you know, just for wrecking, you know, staying safe, because, you know, everybody wants to go fast, but not a lot of, you don't see a lot of festivas with any kind of roll cages. And I mean, it's kind of rudimentary, but it's for me, it's mainly fuel, you know, explosion safety, and keeping that fuel cell kind of separated from the rest of everything else. So that's about it. I'm gonna bring you guys out to my barn and show you some of the stuff I got built already. So here's my car. It's in my garage. We got some motorcycles in here. A couple of things that I've got done to it so far is I put in some Honda RSX seats, and when they're all the way back, they are so I mean, they got some pretty good adjustment. That's about all the way forward, and all the way back is pretty far back. So it's very roomy, if you can tell. So I'm a pretty big guy. Let's see if we can even see in here. My wife's put some shit in here. I lined most of the trunk with sound dampening material, and I don't know, not much to see in here. I haven't got much done with it, but all right, let's go check out the barn. So here's my backyard, my barn, where all my projects are. You know, we're in the city limits, but the guy that built this house before us made this bitchin' cool barn, and it's insulated, and I got heat, and I got an air conditioner. You know, I got some animals, I got some plants, tomatoes, sunflowers, cucumbers. But here's inside my barn. You know, and it's kind of a fucking mess right now, but I got my my Everlast welder, my little welding table. Let's start. Oh, I do some fish keeping. Keep some goldfish too. But so here's my engine, and here's what I got done with the header so far. I built this curly Q that's going to go on it. Let me go grab that. I really like how I built that header. It was quite a project getting it all welded, and I had to cut the flange in half so that the right now the two sides are separate, and you know, for the rear turbo, I'm going to bring the exhaust. It's going to merge over here and go back behind and down through the, you know, where the exhaust would normally go. But I built this kind of a curly Q that I'm going to put on there to add some length. I think I was going to do it like this way, and then bring that exhaust up and over and have it merge over here, so that'll be, you know, pretty long tube. That was another thing, was I wanted to get all that exhaust heat away from the engine, so it not getting any burnt valves or anything. You know, this is all, I don't know, 12 or 13 degree merges, and I still need to sand down this lip. I do my merges like this. I weld a piece onto it so that I can sand it down inside, because if you just weld straight off of this with a long pipe, well, then you can't get your sander in there. So I think it's pretty damn cool looking. I mean, just right now it's all equal length. I don't know if you can really tell, but you know, we got a 2 elbows, 2 more elbows, and this pipe has the 4 inches here, whereas this pipe has the 4 inches there. So it's all equal length. It'll sound really bitchin' cool. Let me see. Here's my turbo from the ST. And I had to weld a V-band flange onto it. Actually, it was an adapter to weld to the turbo, and then the V-band flange welded to that. I forgot about that. It's been a bit, but I chopped down the factory inlet, the exhaust inlet, and I welded a 1.25 inch pipe to it, and you can see that step where it goes from the cast to the 1.25 inch, and I kind of weld blended that, so it's actually kind of a smooth transition in there. I need to sand down some of this it's not too bad. It's actually real smooth in there. Nice transition, no lip. But then I welded this 1.5 inch kind of a collar around it, and that's kind of just to cover up the weld, just to support it more, support that weld more, so I don't have any cracking there. Well, that's my turbo. Here's my supercharger. This is actually the piece that is going to bolt to the engine. I've got some, it's pretty sturdy. We'll have to see. I might be biting my tongue on that one later, but here, this is going to be like a 2-inch air from here to the throttle body, and the turbo is going to come, from the trunk into here. And I don't know if you're familiar with this supercharger. I don't know what it is, but this was actually like the bypass, and it had a little electronic control here, and it went back to the outlet of the supercharger. But the inlet was actually here, and I don't have any room here because of my transmission, so I welded plate over that, and right now it's actually going to look like this is actually going to be the inlet, and it's going to be on there like that, like this. And this is how it would have been from the factory, the kind of recirculate. But I'm going to, run a real short 90 off of there. I don't know, I might have to chop this down here and re-weld it. We'll have to see. But run a 90 and have the turbo air is going to be coming in here and then out here, and this is going to the throttle body. But check this out. I was pretty proud of this. Well, how do you transition from this opening? I hate that they do them like this. But I welded this cast elbow on. I like Ace Race Parts. I buy a lot of stuff from there. But then I used my woodworking router, and I did a kind of a velocity stack, like a bell mouth inlet, so there won't be any rough transitions from the pressure here into here. And I need to sand down. I got a little bit of a lip. You can see that right here. I got a little lip. I'll have to sand that down just a little. Yeah, but nice and smooth. The air's just going to be rolling in there. So how I'm wanting to run this compound turbo supercharger was do like a constant 5 psi from the supercharger. So it's not too much. I don't want to have too much belt drive losses. And then, or maybe, I might run 8. But not too much PSI from this, because the turbo is going to be doing the majority of it. And if you have a supercharger helping you do pressure into your intake, you can actually have higher intake pressures than exhaust pressures, and you could run like an overlap cam to help with engine breathing. And because the problem is people don't run overlap cams with turbos, because a lot of times the exhaust manifold is higher pressure than the inlet. But if you got a supercharger and your compound adding pressures together, well, you can have you can have more intake pressure than exhaust pressure. So if you come over here, here's my my intake manifold, and here's the factory 1.6 runners. The plenum would have been right here, but I welded this half-inch plate on and really smoothed these out, and I sanded inside, and it looks really damn good. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of dirty. It needs cleaned up. I haven't been working on this much. But then I got my intercooler core, and the throttle body is going to mount to here. You know, I'm going to have a piece just straight across because I kind of wanted the exhaust or the intake charge to bounce off of it like a 45, and that would help the intake charge change direction easier, instead of having like two pieces and just having a big box. It'd be a lot easier to change direction if it had a 45 to bounce on. So that's intake, exhaust manifold. I showed you the supercharger. I showed you the turbo. I showed you my engine. You've seen my car. I don't know what else I got to show you. So I think that about wrap it up for episode 1. You know, not much getting done here, but you know, hopefully next time I get an update, episode 2, you know, I'll have that intake manifold done, and this exhaust manifold at least done 4 to 2 to 1, and then have the exhaust kind of just right here and ready to run to the back whenever I get the engine installed. Something that I'm kind of curious about is, you know, this is an 1.25 inch Schedule 10, and that's what my turbo inlet was too, if you remember. 1.25 inch Schedule 10, and you know, the factory turbo, the ID of the turbo inlet was even smaller than that. Well, and maybe you guys can help me, but if I'm running a rear turbo, I don't want to neck that exhaust up to 2 inches to run it 8 foot and then neck it back down to 1.25 inch, because that's a lot of exhaust volume I'm adding, and that'll only create more lag. And yeah, so I don't know, can I run 1.25 inch? I mean, this is a 1.44 ID, so inside diameter, so it's a pretty big, you know, I might run a 1.5 inch Schedule 10 sized pipe to the turbo in the back, you know, 1.7 ID. That'd keep the exhaust volume down and the turbo lag down, and we'll see. Something else I was going to show you guys was these. I got an ATI super damper on here. That was quite the investment, but you know, I just wanted to. Oh, I had to have this second row for the belt, so I could run the supercharger. I wish I could show you that supercharger on here, but I took it off so I could show you guys that plate that I'd radiused. But yeah, that's it for episode 1. So I'll have some updates for you guys in episode 2, and hopefully I can get it all done. Thanks.